Hello everyone, welcome to Ready Set Drone. I'm Kelly, this is Chris, and we just wanted to share with you a quick video about some indoor flying we've been doing with these little Flywoo Cinerace V2, what has it got in it? The O3 unit, ducted quads. These things are great for indoor flying. We're going to show you a couple things that we learned during the flights, and then at the end we will share a perfect run of this office through a bunch of obstacles that Chris did that we want to share with you, so stay tuned to the end. So because it was raining, we decided to set up a little indoor obstacle course and fly through it and just have some fun practicing and see how good we could get getting through it. Now, it took us a good hour and a half of flying, a bunch of batteries, trying to chase each other, doing a lot of experimentation with different routes, different courses around the obstacle course, and Chris ended up getting a really great flight. But before he did, we had a lot of crashes, and one of the biggest factors had to do with going under something tight, like a bunch of chairs. What did you find, Chris, when you went under the chairs and you were going slow and high?
Well, because the ducts kind of channel the airflow through the quad, and the chair had no lattice or anything for the air to go through the chair. Basically, you were creating a vacuum and being sucked into the chair. And so if you weren't traveling at some speed, you're just kind of going very slowly, you tend to get sucked upwards.
And the thing would just sit there until you killed the throttle.
Exactly, there's no way out of it once you're stuck.
We also discovered that with a big shelving unit we were using, if you tried to go through one of the tight gaps where we had it's a piece of plastic that acts as a shelf over the wire, you would also have the same problem where you would start to bounce up and down because it was creating a little bit of a vacuum, and if you were going slow, it would kind of pull you up and then you'd go down and you just start bouncing, and pretty soon you'd end up stuck or flipping out of it. I do think if you're trying to go through a barrier like that, if we had taken those shelves off, it probably would have been a lot easier, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely a lot easier. And it seems like in general, going faster through anything helps maintain the altitude, which we were both having problems with.
Pretty much everyone, when they first put on the goggles, even if they're flying in angle mode, or especially if they're in stabilized mode, they tend to go up and down and overcorrect and up and down. And I found myself in here flying in angle mode because we're flying indoors and doing the same thing. I would kind of like I would come to a barrier or an obstacle I wanted to go through, and then I would go up a little bit, and then I'd find that I was climbing too fast, so I would go down a little bit, and then I'd just start bouncing up and down. And it took a lot of practice and concentration to be able to fly a smooth flight without bouncing up and down. Did you find that to be the case?
Yeah, it definitely took a lot of getting used to these quads, but also just flying indoors with these ducts, and you kind of want to go fast, but also not too fast that you can't avoid obstacles. So yeah, it took a little practice, but you know, we got better eventually.
And we had a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, yeah.
One other thing I will say is that if you're trying to do a perfect chase with two people, it doubles the complexity and the difficulty of the flight, because you not only have to make it through all the barriers, but you have to keep up with the other person, not overtake the other person accidentally or bump into them, which happened several times while we were doing this. And I found that being chased was a lot easier than doing the chasing. Would you say?
Oh yeah, I'm very good at not chasing. Actually, you're pretty good at chasing outside.
Yes,
I found.
And that's the thing too, is outdoors when you're chasing and you have not a lot of things, especially if you're just kind of like chasing a fixed wing or some sort of other bigger aircraft that's bigger than your quad, that is a lot easier to do than what we were doing in here, because we were both going through these tight gaps. And I think even when we got close together, we were probably creating air currents that were affecting one another at times.
Yeah, I think one of us went over the other, and that we both crashed after that.
Yeah, it kind of caused us to, you know, one got pushed up and one got pushed down. Yeah. So after a lot of trial and error, a lot of crashes, we finally got a really great take of Chris flying through the entire thing. We'll take a look at that. And then we're going to show you him going in the reverse pattern, which was actually kind of difficult because you were used to making certain moves and you had to figure out how to make them in reverse. Is that fair?
Yeah, and also we set up the course with, you know, one direction in mind. And then so going the other way, you know, made it difficult just physically because it wasn't necessarily optimized for that direction, but also just mentally, or, you know, as a brain exercise, trying to remember the reverse path.
So check these out. Love to hear what you think about FPV, indoor FPV. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.